of Cardiac Anesthesia, AIMS, New Delhi, to kindly come to the dais, please. I will briefly introduce the House to Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, we have already introduced Srimati Hansaji Jaydev, and Co-Chairperson Dr. Sudhir Gupta. He is Additional Director General in Directorate General of Health Services, DGHS, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. He is dealing with the clinical research since 20 years. He is gold medalist in public health. He has organ transplantation, clinical establishment act, cancers, NCDs, non-communicable, all such type of subjects he is dealing in detail since last 20 years. So such a learned person is with us. And Madam Hansaji Jaydev has already given her glimpses in the morning session. So without much formalities, let us start with the first lecture. May I request Professor Dr. B.N. Gangadhar, Director. Yes. Professor Gautam Sharma ji is to leave for some urgent engagement. He is a professor in Department of Cardiology, in charge of Center for Integrative Medicine, AIMS, New Delhi. And a very brief about him is that he is a visiting professor of S. Vyasa University, Bangalore, and he did his MD in Internal Medicine from PGIMER, Chandigarh, and DM in Cardiology from AIMS. And his postdoctoral fellowship was in Cardiac Electrophysiology from Royal Adelaide Hospital, Australia. He is a senior interventional cardiologist with expertise in complex coronary interventions and radiofrequency ablation for cardiac arrhythmias. His area of interest being atrial fibrillation. He has authored several scientific publications in leading peer-reviewed journals and is a regular speaker at national and international cardiac electrophysiology conferences focusing on atrial fibrillation. He is passionate about integrating yoga and other traditional medicines, Indian systems. May I request him to kindly deliver his speech on yoga, stress and cardiovascular diseases.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, chairpersons and dear colleagues. Today is World Mental Health Day, and it's very appropriate that I'll be speaking on stress, cardiovascular disease, and yoga. So this is the map of the world that's been color-coded to show you what's the magnitude of heart disease, ischemic heart disease in the world. The gray is coded, represents the heart disease, and you can see that from west to east, from north to south, it's all gray. So, the magnitude is such, and this is again to show the burden of cardiovascular disease. This is from United States because we have the best data from United States. And this is showing how the clock is ticking, showing us the burden of cardiovascular disease. And as you can see, every 40 seconds, somebody dies of cardiovascular disease. Every 40 seconds, somebody has a stroke. And every 4 minutes, somebody dies of stroke. And so cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of morbidity and mortality, accounting for 31% of all global deaths. What about India? So this is actually this is a nice picture. So this is from Times of India, but it's a nice picture, so I brought it out here. And it again shows that cardiovascular disease remains the #1 killer. And this is from an article published in Circulation by my colleague, Dr. Prabhakaran, and so they analyzed the complete data, and they showed that 37% of the world's deaths from cardiovascular diseases occurs in the developing world, and India tops there. The age standardized cardiovascular disease death rate is 272 per 1 lakh population in India, against a global average of 235. And the years of life lost to cardiovascular disease in India has increased by 59% from 1990 to 2010. So you can see that we remain the world capital of cardiovascular disease in terms of morbidity and deaths, and we lose a lot of young people to this malady. Now this was data from United States of America, arguably the most developed country in the world, especially in terms of medicine and cardiovascular medicine. And despite the numerous advances of cabbages and angioplasties and heart failure devices, cardiovascular disease remains a leading cause of morbidity and mortality. They spend in US $200 billion every year, and it's likely to increase 2 to 3-fold over the next decades. So therefore, there is a need for inexpensive interventions. So despite spending all the money, despite all the advances, still it's a growing disease. Now interestingly, if you talk to the patients, and this was a US National Health Interview Survey wherein they actually talked to cardiovascular disease patients, they found that 14 to 24% of Americans with cardiovascular disease have been reported to use or have used some form of mind-body therapy. So we're talking about the United States. And even more interestingly, these patients, when they said that almost 50% of them said that they're ready for any alternative therapy. So even the patients feel that there is something missing. So what is missing? We all know this. You know, stress is a cardiovascular risk factor. And I would say this statement, it's just to bring out what I strongly feel, that chronic stress should be treated on par with the other cardiovascular risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, smoking. So, but we ignore it. I'm a cardiologist, but I ask my patients all these risk factors, but do I ask them, are you stressed out, or do I give them a questionnaire to assess their stress levels? No. So we are missing a lot that we can do to help these patients. And you know this, the physical manifestations of stress, and there's prothrombotic state, there's inflammation, the angiotensin activation is there, oxidative imbalance, sympathetic overdrive, endothelial dysfunction. All of them have been shown in physiological studies, small studies, and all of these together, or even each one of them, contribute to atherosclerosis, microvasculopathy, perfusion defects, and obviously cardiovascular disease. Now, I wanted to share this very interesting paper, and I think Dr. Gangadhar is aware of this. This was a study that was recently published this year in the Lancet, and this is from the Mass General Hospital in Boston. And what the researchers did, they studied the relation between amygdala activity and cardiovascular events. We know that amygdala is associated with emotional disturbances, stress, and we know that stress is a cause for cardiovascular mortality and morbidity, but we don't know whether there is a direct link. And these researchers wanted to study this. And what they did was they took individuals who were undergoing FDG PET and studied them longitudinally. They studied amygdala activity, bone marrow activity, and arterial inflammation. And these are the results. As you can see from the image above, that there was, in this image, there's a low amygdala activity compared to the one on the right. And here, this is a left ventricle and this is the aorta. And you can see, comparing these two images, there's a lot of uptake of FDG here, showing very active uptake. Similarly, when they looked at the bone marrow, and they showed that there was a lot of uptake in the bone marrow. Now, this was very interesting. So, this is the first study that actually demonstrated that metabolic activity within the amygdala is associated with the risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Because these patients who had amygdala activity and also had uptake in the aorta, these are the patients who eventually had cardiovascular disease when they were followed up clinically. So this is the first study. So I'm very excited to share with you that they have actually shown an anatomical link of stress to cardiovascular disease, and this is the hypothesis. So they presume and they hypothesize that this is mediated by arterial inflammation, and that is because of these cells that produce cytokines and inflammatory cytokines from the bone marrow. As you saw, that bone marrow was activated, the vessel wall was activated, and amygdala was activated. So there's a link. So this is the first study that showed this relation. And this is exciting because it actually gives us the first proof that alleviation of stress beyond the psychological well-being can actually improve the atherosclerotic milieu. This is very significant. This was what we were presuming all along, but this is the first study to show this. And again, the statement that I shared with you, that chronic stress should be treated as a key risk factor for cardiovascular disease. We all know, you know the benefits of yoga much more than I do, and I needn't go into elaborate on this. But interestingly, there was another study that I wanted to share with you, in which we all know that you do yoga, you improve the blood pressure, you improve the anxiety, the quality of sleep, etc., the waist circumference. But this is interesting because this is a study that was published again recently, wherein they looked at the gene expression changes. And there have been small studies, and this particular study that I'm sharing with you was a meta-analysis of 18 studies. And they were trying to answer the question, what is the molecular signature of mind-body interventions? So they looked at 18 studies, and there were different types of mind-body interventions like yoga, like Qigong, relaxation response, breath regulation. And they looked at, and these are the studies that study the gene expression. And what they found, that these practices are associated with the down-regulation of nuclear factor kappa B pathway. Now this NF kappa B is the marker of stress, and this down-regulation is, actually you'll understand it here better, that with chronic stress, what happens is an upregulation of this pathway, leading to bone marrow activity, inflammation, atherosclerosis, and cardiac events. With yoga and the other interventions that I just mentioned, there is a down-regulation. And we presume this and this has been shown that there's a down-regulation, and we presume that this is the mechanism in which the inflammation decreases, and the subsequent atherosclerotic milieu improves. So this is, again, a landmark study. Now, what about Indian studies? What about the studies that have been done here? So there are a couple of studies from my institute in which they show that there's a better management of post-CABG risk factors, and there is a prevention of the progression. In fact, there's a retardation of the coronary artery disease. But these were very small studies, and there was a high dropout rate. There was no blinding. So there were a lot of deficiencies in these studies, and nothing conclusive could be got out of them. And so what have we? I did a review, and we have a couple of meta-analyses to increase the number of patients that have been studied. And so this is the one that was published in International Journal of Cardiology. So they looked at yoga on cardiovascular disease risk factors, the factors that I mentioned, not stress. So there were 44 RCTs with a total of more than 3,000 patients. And what they found was yoga improved systolic and diastolic blood pressure, waist circumference, cholesterol, HbA1c, so there was there was an evidence for clinically important effects of yoga. But despite the first sentence, which is positive, they write that despite methodological drawbacks. So there were methodological drawbacks of these studies, but they still say that yoga can be an ancillary intervention for patients of CVD. In fact, just last week, the AHA has brought out a similar statement, consensus statement, on meditation and cardiovascular disease, and they've said that meditation can be used as an ancillary method in these patients. So, which is like big. All of this is coming from US, so we have to do something fast. Anyway, so this is another meta-analysis in which they studied the effectiveness of yoga in modifying risk factors for cardiovascular. Essentially, they looked at the metabolic syndrome, and there were 37 RCTs here. And they concluded that there is a promising evidence of yoga on improving these metabolic health factors. But again, they say that these findings are limited by the small trials, sample sizes, heterogeneity, and moderate quality of the RCT. So you see, every time this is the Achilles heel. We don't have good trials, even though we believe that there's benefit. Small trials have shown that there's benefit, but we don't have robust scientific data. And here is another one. And they did a literature search using heart disease and yoga, and they came across only 7 RCTs with 600 odd patients. And so 4 were in coronary artery disease, 2 in heart failure, and only 1 in cardiac arrhythmia. And they concluded that only weak recommendations can be made for ancillary use of yoga for patients of coronary heart disease. So these weak recommendations, they're saying, because of the weak studies. So what do we need today is good, robust data. So we need trials that have adequate sample size. We need randomized controlled trials. We need an active control to yoga. Most of these trials have just done yoga and followed up these patients and shown the results, but they don't have an active arm. And most of them have been a single center trials. We need a multi-centric trial. So, all this is very important for the world to actually accept what they're beginning to actually, that yoga is useful. And then there's a question of additive value of complex yoga interventions. See, yoga is not just physical asanas, as you know very well. It's meditation and it's breathing techniques. So all the trials that I've talked about most of them have looked into just the physical aspect of yoga. And what will happen if you introduce the whole yoga as a whole, yoga in its pure form, what it actually is. So we don't have data about that. And then there's a very interesting thing, so most of the data is from India. So culturally, we accept yoga. So, it's our heritage. But, so are the results going to be the same in the Western population? We presume they will be same because humans are same everywhere, it's the same physiology, but we don't have data. So, in our own small, humble way, at the All India Institute, we have this Center for Integrative Medicine, which has been started with the help of AYUSH. And where we are actually studying integrative medicine. So we have a whole lot of trials that are going on at the moment with the mainstream specialists, whether it's neurologists, pulmonary medicine, cardiologists, etc., and yoga physicians. And we want to generate a robust scientific data and using contemporary study methodology. With this, I think I'll end my talk, and thank you for your kind attention.
Well, Dr. Gautam Sharma, your concern is very valid, but in yoga, they talk about heart as a seat of emotion, Hradaya Chitta Samvit. And when we deal with heart, first we have to deal with emotions. And we, at the Yoga Institute, when we have done the research work on heart, we did it on 100 patients. And there we found all these things which you are talking about right now. And here, I always say that mortality rate of a human being is 1, but really what happens is that there is a death of love. That becomes also a death of love. When there is a divorce, when there is a people fighting and children suffering, all these things, and the heart is affected. There was one lady whose son was taking drugs, and she was following all the asanas, pranayams, meditation, and whatever was told, but she was not improving. Then the whole team went to meet that child who was taking drug, and when that boy improved, lady's heart became perfect. The atherosclerosis was taken care of, blockages had gone, and things were improved so fast. So we have to work at that holistic approach to life, and the heart also would be definitely getting affected. So thank you very much for your such a lovely talk.
So, Dr. Gautam Sharma is to leave, so I request the chairperson to kindly honor him with a memento.
You will be given.
Thanks, Dr. Gautam Sharma, for a very prestigious talk. And the second lecture is from Professor B.N. Gangadhar, will deliver on yoga for mental health. Professor B.N. Gangadhar is the Director of National Institute of Mental Health and Allied Sciences since 2014, previously HOD of Department of Psychiatry, Honorary Dean, Life Sciences of S. Vyasa Yoga University, Bangalore, and his DSc, Doctor of Science, S. Vyasa. He has more than 350 indexed journal papers in index journals and various national and international peer-reviewed journals, and is the investigator and co-investigator for many researches with ICMR, AYUSH and others. May I request him to kindly deliver his lecture.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Today happens to be the 25th World Mental Health Day. An important occasion. I bring all the best wishes from my colleagues at PIMHANS to all the delegates in this conference. So it is very appropriate that this conference has chosen a theme, chosen a talk on mental health to be delivered here, and I am doing the duty of presenting yoga for mental health, some evidences from our research and the importance of mental health in particular. You know that health without mental health is incomplete, and even Ayurveda defines health as prasannatmendriya manaha swastya iti abhidiyate. So it is important that we keep mental health as a serious concern. Mental health and physical health have serious interactions. Low mental health means low physical health as well. Good mental health means good physical health as well. So it is important that when we are talking about health and yoga, mental health becomes very important. And when we are talking of health for all, which means also mental health for all. And this is a challenge today, and I'm sure you must be reading in the papers as to what are the difficulties and where we need to actually exploit the opportunities that the AYUSH provides into that mainstream medicine, which is currently using only allopathy, whether we can integrate Ayurveda, yoga and other systems into the existing mainstream medicine for the benefit of mental health of the community. So I have given a list of primary, secondary, tertiary prevention, also health promotion. I believe, having gone through the literature, there is evidence that in all places yoga can play an important role, and in fact in health promotion yoga alone could be as good. In other places maybe you have to use some medicines, some places medicines can get a priority over yoga, vice versa, but I believe integration of yoga, like we heard in the previous talk, cardiovascular diseases, yoga added has several benefits. So I believe all medical interventions could have a integrative component of yoga, and it is something that is non-invasive and is not going to have interaction with the drugs. Like if you're going to give Ayurvedic drug and allopathic drug, the allopaths say no and the Ayurvedic people also say no. There are the drug interactions, etc., and it goes on. So whereas yoga is something I would call as a secular intervention in all the treatments. So I believe it should happen. So what we do when we treat the patient, we make him lose the illness. Would that person become fit enough to work, fit enough to be well? It is not true, and so we have to use the health promotive techniques. One of them is, I believe, yoga. So coming to mental health, I just want to highlight the significance of mental health and the magnitude of the problem. The National Mental Health Survey that NIMHANS conducted just a year ago, we gave the report. In fact, the last year of the Mental Health Day, this report was released to the public, and it is available for the public on the net, and anyone can see it. The numbers are quite staggering. All along we used to think we don't have so many mentally ill people in the country. Maybe the West is exaggerating, but having seen this study, having seen the data from this study, we have mental disorders as much as any other country that you may want to name. And interestingly, the urban society has more mental illness than the rural society. So put together, we need to take stock of this thing, and so mental health has to be improved. And improving mental health means improving our social capital. In fact, mental health, the WHO recognizes as a social capital, and so we need to actually get it better. And it has several consequences, including productivity, etc., etc. In fact, this year's theme is mental health at workplace. So they are focusing on how important is mental health in the workplace so that our productivity can be enhanced and we take care of our workers. Burden produced by mental health is enormous. In fact, neuropsychiatric disorders contribute to more than a third of the burden caused by all the diseases. And of course, various diseases, depression ranks amongst the mental health disorders as the top one in terms of contributing the burden. Burden both by way of the number of people who have to be treated, the medicines, the drug costs, etc., etc. Loss of productivity by them because of the illness. And third, consequences of generating physical illnesses or making the physical illnesses worse. All these put together, there is a estimate that the neuropsychiatric disorders contribute to a third of the burden caused by illnesses in the society. And in our country, what are the resources to meet this challenge of mental health, mental illness, and the burden reduction, etc., etc.? We have far fewer numbers of mental health professionals trained in an allopathic sense. In fact, estimates say when compared to other developed countries like maybe USA or UK or Australia, we have 20 to 25-fold fewer mental health professionals per unit population, which seems a gigantic task that we need to fill. And so, because of this and because of many other reasons, there is a huge treatment gap. Even amongst the severely ill people, over 75% of them have not received adequate or a proper treatment. So this is a challenge that we need to meet. And so, what are the means that we are doing? Can we produce so many psychiatrists, for example, that we need? And even to produce so many psychiatrists, we need to increase it by 3 folds. And at the rate of the current production of psychiatrists, it could take as many as about 3 decades to reach the expected standards of psychiatrist population ratio. So the challenge remains if you depend only on the allopathic system. So we have to integrate. We have to bank on the AYUSH systems as well. And in fact, AYUSH systems can play a very, very important role, because if you see, for example, yoga, the descriptions of yoga are for bettering mental health and have been used extensively, and they have worked very well in the past, including Ayurveda and yoga. They have worked very well. And so, can we bring it back? Like I mentioned, if we have to integrate, if you cannot replace them into the mainstream, but if you want to integrate with the mainstream, you can have a serious potential. And I believe here yoga has an important role. And so, if we have to say yoga should be integrated or yoga should be used as the an alternative system in the care of the mentally ill, at least in some diseases for which I will perhaps show some evidence, we need to generate evidence that the mainstream people will accept. Although I am a allopath, even for me to be convinced, I need to do good studies. The previous speaker was talking about the difficulties in demonstrating trials, etc., etc. But the fact remains that we have to demonstrate evidence that yoga has a place in mental health. But you know, wherever yoga is referred to with respect to the improvements in the mind. We heard in the morning, yoga chitta vritti nirodha, manah prashamanopayaha iti yoga. There are so many quotations we can cite. Yoga is for mental well-being. Today we are talking of wellness, mental wellness, and nothing can replace yoga for getting good mental health. So yoga has to be exploited for investigation, for research, and for translation into the care of the mentally ill individuals in the community, and also for health promotion. I'll just glance through few studies where evidence has been very impressive. For example, in depression, even this is a meta-analysis by the same author, Kramer, whom our previous author also cited. Of course, Dr. Kramer has written several meta-analyses of yoga in different conditions. So this is in depression, yoga versus treatment as usual, yoga versus relaxation, yoga versus exercise. In all the 3 elements, the evidence is in favor of using yoga as a therapeutic ingredient in depression. In fact, we also did some studies earlier. I am just citing some of these. This is a study which we had published almost 2 decades earlier, where we demonstrated that yoga, which we practiced it as Sudarshana Kriya Yoga of the art of living, where we found yoga was as good as medicines in the treatment of major depression admitted in the hospital. We also found that addition of yoga in people who are being detoxified from alcohol, they lose their depressive symptoms faster than or more robustly than those who were not given the yoga practice during the detoxification process. And so, enthused by these findings, we started the yoga center at NIMHANS. I must thank personally Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who actually gave us a lot of inspiration to initiate the process. And also I must thank Dr. Basava Reddy. Through the Moraji Desai National Institute of Yoga, we got a initial seed grant to start a yoga center for research. But we realized more and more people are seeking help for psychiatric disorders. And we have the yoga center, which now focuses largely on the yogasanas and the pranayamas. We have somehow not been able to apply meditation. As you can understand, psychiatrically ill people might have a lot of difficulty in applying their mind to meditative practices. So we have focused on yogasana and pranayama, and here are some data that I may want to share with you. In all our processes, like Dr. Basava Reddy mentioned, that we need to refer to traditional textbooks and we need to bring out those asanas which are helpful for given set of syndromal conditions, and this is what we did. Experts went through all the textbooks, literature, put together a set of yoga practices for each given syndromal description, and this was validated by more experts, fine-tuned. We validated that by pilot clinical studies and then put them to clinical test, either experimental or clinical. So we called them as generic yoga modules. Today we are talking of generic drugs. You should not be writing pharmacological trade names, use pharmaceutical names. So we believe that generic yoga is what we need to come to apply. And we have been able to demonstrate such generic packages in several conditions: schizophrenia, depression, anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, ADHD, and we have developed these modules, validated to an extent, partially published them, available in the international literature, and some we have also tested. This is not a comparative trial, but this is an open trial. I don't want you to take this graph as an evidence for comparing yoga versus drugs. Please don't read that. But you can see that yoga produced substantial antidepressant properties in outpatient major depressive disorder patients. The other two lines are those who received drugs and those who received drugs with antidepressant with yoga. I'm not wanting you to compare that, but you can understand that yoga produces substantial antidepressant effects. Yoga, when added to schizophrenia patients, here I want you to keep in mind the potential for integration. This is a group of people with schizophrenia who are attending the outpatients. We invited them to participate in a clinical trial of adding yoga, adding exercise, or making them weight listed. And if you can see these graphs, when you measure them over the course of 3 months on standard clinical tools, what did we find? More patients who received yoga obtained improvements in the negative syndrome subscale of a clinical psychopathology rating. Negative symptoms are very, very difficult to treat. And in these symptoms, if we are able to produce benefits in people who have been on a long-standing antipsychotic drugs, are continuing to be followed up in the outpatient for years, add yoga now, they got some more improvement. And here, I believe, integration has been demonstrated in a way. We also found in a randomized clinical trial, yoga versus weight listed, yoga produced substantial improvement in social cognition in schizophrenia patients. Social cognition is very difficult to treat, and in fact that is the one that actually pulls down the performance in the individual and that causes significant loss in productivity. And so these publications in yoga and schizophrenia as an add-on treatment for schizophrenia have impressed some of the international treatment guidelines. This is the NICE guideline. NICE guideline is the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, published by the United Kingdom for their psychiatrists to adopt. And for the first time, yoga has entered the NICE guidelines in the treatment of psychosis as an add-on treatment, and thanks to the studies that NIMHANS conducted in the area of yoga and schizophrenia. And so there are evidences. This is just two examples I have shown. There are many other research that has happened in other diseases, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, ADHD, autism. I don't want to go into all these studies, but suffice to say that there are several challenges. More evidence is sought. People say that studies are not double-blind studies. Studies don't have an objective parameter. Psychiatric symptoms, psychiatric pathology is assessed on a subjective rating scale. And so people demand, are there any objective evidence that yoga has actually produced a change in this individual? Here is an example. I am going to give some examples from our laboratory where we have been able to demonstrate biological markers of change in yoga treated psychiatrically ill people. Depressed people have lower amplitude of a cognitive event related potential compared to healthy subjects. The dotted line is the healthy subjects and the two other lines are those of minor and major depression. Both of them have smaller amplitude. You give them yoga, they get better, and the amplitude becomes as much as that of a healthy subject at the end of 3 months of yoga practice. Yoga being the only treatment given to them. We did not give them an antidepressant drug. We followed them for a period of 3 months. So biological change occurs along with yoga practice, and depression also gets better. Here is another study where cortisol levels drop. We know cortisol is a stress hormone. Previous speaker spoke about stress. Cortisol came down. As much as the cortisol came down, the depression scores also came down in people with alcohol dependence syndrome. We looked at another measure of biological change following yoga, that is the brain-derived neurotropic factor, a neuroplastic element which is lower when depression happens. And so, because it is lower, brain repair mechanism drops. The brain starts decaying and the repair is not very effective. And so, that's the reason why the Sanskrit shloka says, Chita dahati nirjivam, chinta dahati jivanam. So, when you are in chinta, the depression, your body is internally being burnt. And so, can a repair mechanism be put in place? Treatments put the repair mechanisms in place. The BDNF levels increase. Yoga alone also produces significant elevations in the BDNF levels in the blood of these people who are getting treatment. Cortisol drops, drop in cortisol parallels that of antidepressant response, and the effect of this BDNF elevation is shown in the form of elevations in the hippocampal gray matter after 6 months of yoga practice. This is a very small sample, 7 elderly subjects whom we did a MRI scan before and after 6 months of yoga practice. At the end of 6 months, we were expecting at the minimum the hippocampal gray matter would not shrink, because in elderly there is a rapid shrinking and the first one to shrink is the hippocampal gray matter. And what we found to our surprise was there was a marginal significant increase in the hippocampal gray matter volume in yoga, after yoga in these elderly individuals. We also looked at other parameters in schizophrenia. For example, the GABA activity increases. There is one method in which you can actually measure the GABA tone in this individual, what is called as the cortical silent period. Before yoga, it will be smaller. After yoga, it gets wider. In healthy subjects, we have been able to demonstrate that. That paper is under publication. And we were able to demonstrate in schizophrenia individuals, this is a randomized clinical trial, they got better with respect to their negative symptoms, better with respect to their social cognition, and we were also able to demonstrate that the GABAergic tone, that is the cortical silent period, was longer following yoga, but did not happen if you did not give them yoga, only waitlisted. This is a study in progress. Even at a smaller sample size, the clinically significant, statistically significant analysis was possible. So, the last element of a biological change is in the mirror neuron activity. Mirror neurons research is going on in a very fast pace. Mirror neurons helps us to connect with each other, and yoga, I believe, is huge to connect. And so I believe yoga should enhance the mirror neuron activity. And in healthy subjects, we were able to demonstrate elevations or activation of the mirror neurons following a 4-week yoga program. We also demonstrated the similar effect in schizophrenia subjects. More patients of schizophrenia got an elevation in the mirror neuron activity when compared to those who, when given yoga, than when they were waitlisted. The slide is self-explanatory. I am not going into the details, but yoga enhances mirror neuron activity. This is the preliminary data. We are going on with this research. Hopefully, by the time next year I have an opportunity, we will have more florid data. And how does this mirror neuron activity get better? It is possible. The oxytocin levels increase following yoga, and we have evidence to that effect. And the last point is that amygdala, he mentioned about amygdala being more active, causing cardiovascular risk. Om chanting caused deactivation of amygdala. We have had this during an fMRI experiment. And so several biological probes have been made available, and so yoga has a role for therapy. Evidence is robust and it is culturally acceptable. Integration is possible, and efficacy is demonstrated fairly in a robust way, both in depression and in schizophrenia. And so here it is. I thank several of the people who helped me to do this work, MDNIY, the S. Vyasa, the CCRYN, and of course our institute staff who have been working in the yoga center. I thank you for bearing with me. I thank the chairperson for letting me speak for a longer time than usual. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I am glad that you are aware that you are speaking for a longer time. But the point is, this research should continue in any case. Beautiful research, and we always say that let's not really show whether yoga has helped or whether medicine has helped. Patient should be helped. We should take care of patients in the beginning with mental health. They may need some medication in any case, clinical depression or schizophrenia. But as and when they start learning yoga and applying these things into life, build up some strong philosophical outlook, automatically medicines would be reduced. So let us think that way, so that the patient is taken care of. You may call it, we always say that yoga is a science of health and pathis are science of diseases. So now, as far as health is concerned, every human should follow the way of life, a healthy living. Every human should. And in case if the problem comes, the pathi comes into the picture. So let's take yoga on the opposite side of pathi and live life accordingly. So thank you very much, Professor, for your great speech.
And the next lecture is from Dr. J.S. Thakur. Dr. J.S. Thakur is presently Professor at School of Public Health, Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh, and WHO Country Office. And he is the chair of World NCD Congress being organized by World NCD Federation of PGIMER, Chandigarh. And he is the founder president of World NCD Federation. And he has written and edited a book on public health, approaches to non-communicable diseases, more than 130 publications. He has provided consultancy to many developing countries, Sri Lanka and many others, Maldives. May I request him to kindly deliver his lecture on mainstreaming of AYUSH for health promotion in different settings for addressing NCDs. Dr. Thakur, sir.
So thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I am thankful to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be present in this meeting. During the next few minutes, I would be discussing about the strategies for prevention and control of NCDs, what is setting-based approach, and how to strengthen these setting-based approaches and integration of AYUSH at the different level of healthcare delivery system. Now, if we see the causes of chronic diseases, we have underlying social determinants like globalization, urbanization, population aging, and then we have the common 4 major behavioral risk factors, that is unhealthy diet, physical inactivity or sedentary lifestyle, tobacco use, alcohol, and stress has also been mentioned. So when we are exposed over a period of time to these risk factors, there are certain intermediate physiological or biological risk factors, that is we experience raised blood pressure, raised blood glucose, abnormal lipids, overweight and obesity, and the ultimate outcome is that we may suffer from 4 major NCDs, that is heart disease, stroke, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases and diabetes. One good thing about non-communicable diseases are that 70 to 80% of them are preventable. I mean, if you see that 80% of heart disease and stroke are preventable, 80% of type 2 diabetes is preventable. We say 30 to 40% of cancers are preventable. This is the WHO data. But in India, we say 70% of the cancers are preventable. The reason for this is that major chunk come from the tobacco and especially the smokeless tobacco which we use. So you can see the potential of prevention in non-communicable diseases. Now, what are the strategies available for prevention and control of non-communicable diseases? There is a population-based strategy that we provide the intervention at the population level, and there is a high-risk strategy where we identify the individual at the high-risk level and then give the lifestyle modification. Now, which strategy should be used? It has been found that if we are using a combination of population-based strategy as well as the high-risk strategy, the results are better, and this has been shown in this diagram. Now, for preventing non-communicable diseases, WHO has suggested 3 pillars: surveillance, prevention and management. What is our objective? We want that those who are healthy, they should remain healthy. Those who are at the risk, they should be identified and their lifestyle should be taken. For that purpose, we need surveillance. And the third pillar is that those who are suffering from the disease, they should be detected early and should be provided the treatment. Now coming to the prevention, which is the topic which I have chosen, and what is setting-based approach. Now when we talk about setting, setting is a place or a social context where people engage in the daily activities. A place where people actively influence, use, shape the environment. So when we talk about setting, we talk about healthy cities, healthy villages, healthy workplaces, healthy schools, hospitals, because they share the same environment and they influence the people living in these settings. Now, what is the difference between illness and wellness? Simply, the differentiation is by 2 words, we and I. So, wellness is often achieved by building a community of individuals, that is we. We want healthy populations and who can support our health, growth and strength. How to achieve wellness? And this is the theme of this Congress also. How we have to move, what should be the strategies, how we need to work. The foremost for this is our school setting. All good and bad habits are formed in childhood. And if our children are healthy, they will also be, the nation will be healthy, the future generation will be healthy. Workplaces, we are working at different places. We are spending almost 6 to 8 hours in our workplaces. So wherever we are working, they should be also healthy. We are also living as a part of the community. So the community should be healthy, and we have some of the experience of working in all these settings from northern part of India, that is school, workplaces and community. These are considered to be the 3 most important settings. Now these are some of our studies on effectiveness of school-based NCD intervention in Chandigarh. We conducted 2 cluster randomized trials of 20 and 12 and 20 weeks lifestyle interventions. They were multi-component, multi-level intervention, including yoga also. And in this intervention, after 12 weeks, we found that there was significant increase in outdoor physical activity, reduced TV hours, and increased fruit consumption after 12 weeks. But in our outcome, we were having behavioral risk factors, the physiological or the physical risk factors, and biochemical risk factors. So there was change in behavior, but there was no change in the physiological as well as the biochemical risk factors. So then we decided to increase the intervention to 20 weeks, effectively 5 months in a year. It was a national task force project funded by ICMR, and Chandigarh and the Kochi Center in Kerala, they participated. And after 20 weeks of intervention, we found that compared with the control and adjusting for age, sex and clustering within the classes, the children in the intervention group showed decrease in the weight, waist circumference and tricep thickness, and there was significant reduction in the intake of energy, protein and fat. So it was found that these 12 and 20 weeks lifestyle interventions were feasible and effective in the community. We are right now working on an accreditation program for health promoting schools in Chandigarh, and we have developed the standards. This is again a project funded by the Indian Council of Medical Research, and Quality Council of India is also involved, and schools are being categorized into bronze, silver, gold, platinum categories on the basis of certain standards, and after the successful implementation, we intend to upscale it. Coming to the workplace interventions, we were asked by the Ministry of Health to work an integrated healthy workplace model for the national NCD program, and this is now published in Indian Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. There are 3 major components in this workplace model, that is promoting healthy practices, physical work environment and psychosocial work environment. Today is the World Mental Health Day, and we were talking about mental health in workplaces. So this is the study which is available from the risk profile in the industrial setting from Chandigarh. You will find that the history of stress in our industries is very high, and it was found that 45% of the people working in 3 industries, 2 in the private and 1 in the public sector, they were experiencing stress. And if you see the other risk factors like overweight, obesity, hypertension, sedentary lifestyle, it is also very common. A study by the Confederation of Indian Industry in 10 industrial settings in India has also found that stress level in our workplaces are very, very high. So we need interventions, and yoga can also play a very important role. Now we worked on community setting by developing district health promoting district models. We took 1 district in Punjab, Hoshiarpur, and 1 district Ambala in Haryana. And the focus of this model lies, because of the paucity of time, I may not be able to go into detail, but paucity was integration and convergence within the different national health program as well as AYUSH and different sectors like education, social justice and empowerment, youth and sports, multitasking by the health worker. It is not only the responsibility of one health worker or the doctor. All in the health workforce should work for promoting health, pooling of resources, multi-sectoral partnership, and we found that this health promoting district model was found to be effective. India, as we say, lives in villages and districts. So if we can develop these health promoting districts, eventually the country can become healthy. And in this we started from the villages, the block level and the district level, what need to be done at the different level. Now big question here is, are we spending enough for prevention and the wellness? Wellness is being talked in the national health policy also in big way. We have done the analysis of 2 states, Punjab and Haryana, which are very progressive state, and you can see what proportion of budget we are spending on prevention. In Punjab it was 0.6% out of the total budget under the National Health Mission, and in Haryana it was 1.2%. Most of the posts were vacant. So how wellness can go to the grassroots level when we are spending a very, very meager amount? So unless we increase the funding for the preventive component, the wellness component will not go. And we have also done calculation that if we increase the budget to 4 to 5% of the total National Health Mission budget for each state, this wellness component can be mainstream and it can be strengthened. We have now publication also. We have worked on the health promotion manual in English and Hindi, and Punjabi manual is also being published. Now, if you see these are the 2 states where in the last 10 years we have studied the NCD risk profile of the state, and you will find that there is a very high prevalence of risk factors in the population. This is the example of Punjab, where less than 5 servings of fruit vegetable is consumed by 95% of the population. Punjab is the food bowl, and many vegetables are grown, but people are not eating vegetable because they are using lot of pesticides, and they are afraid of even eating their own vegetable. They sell in the market. Raised salt intake more than 5, more than 90%. And if you see the prevalence of hypertension, 40% of Punjab population is suffering from hypertension. And if you see overweight and obesity, again 40% is suffering from either overweight and obesity. And if we take waist circumference as a criteria, 60% is suffering from overweight or obesity. Out-of-pocket expenditure is very high for NCDs, and you can see these figures. On an average, the 70% out-of-pocket expenditure is either in terms of medicines or diagnostic tests. So this all can be taken care of if we have a strengthened system. Just to say that few of our studies have proved that health workers are effective in implementing most of the NCD interventions. This was upscaled to the Union Territory of Chandigarh as a Chandigarh Healthy Heart Intervention Project, and with the effort, the Chandigarh is the first smoke-free city in the country since 2017. We have big rural-urban disparities in the country, and if you see the indicators available in urban and rural areas, there are a lot of disadvantages in living in rural areas in terms of health indicators. We need to strengthen our primary healthcare system, and there is a provision now under the National Health Policy for strengthening all the sub-centers, that is to the health and wellness centers, and then linked to the PSC and then at a higher level. But this is not possible unless there is a functional integration and mainstreaming with yoga, because we have substantial workforce which is working at the grassroots level. So mainstreaming is very, very important. But how to achieve this mainstreaming? We need to have this policy for integration and mainstreaming at the national and the state level. We need to strengthen the public sector institutions and active engagement with the private sector. 40 to 60% are the vacancies in the rural areas. So if you do not have the adequate manpower, how you can implement your program? Of course, medicine supply, diagnostics is important. And as has been emphasized by the two previous speakers, that we need, effective models in implementation research, that how to, effectively implementing our integrated program. Effective monitoring and evaluation systems are important. The multi-sectoral, it is not only the health or the AYUSH sector, but other sectors are also involved. They should be involved in implementation of health. And in the sustainable development era, we need to focus on the other sectors. To summarize, for NCDs, we have population and high-risk strategies. So we need a adequate focus on the population-wide, the surveillance and the individual clinical services, and we need to focus as far as prevention is concerned in 3 settings mainly: schools, workplaces and community. Surveillance is important for mapping the risk profile, and health system strengthening is required, and integration and mainstreaming of AYUSH in the allopathic system is very crucial, and these systems should work together in an integrated way. Now, just to say about World NCD Federation, we have these 2 years back, this took birth in India. We have now a book on public health approaches to non-communicable diseases, which was released by the Union Health Minister, and we also publish International Journal of Non-Communicable Diseases, which is an official publication of World NCD Federation. I take this opportunity to invite all of you to the next first World NCD Congress, which is being organized in PGI Chandigarh, jointly by the World NCD Federation and PGI Chandigarh, with the theme Preventing Non-Communicable Diseases and Sustainable Development Goal. There is a pre-Congress workshop on role of AYUSH and yoga in NCD, and Dr. Ishwar Basavareddy and the Moraji Desai National Institute of Yoga is taking a lead. There are also sessions on integrated medicine on NCDs, and this will be from 4 to 6 November. All of you are cordially invited. Thank you very much.
It was a very nice presentation. He mentioned about the illness versus wellness, so it's very important. About the NCDs, he mentioned about the risk factors, which are tobacco use, alcohol use, stress, increased salt, less of vegetables, physical inactivity and unhealthy diet. And our behaviors, they lead to physiological risk factors. For example, the raised blood pressure and raised blood sugar levels, that is diabetes. These are the physiological problems. They are due to our behavioral risk factors, which I just enumerated. And it was very good that he mentioned about the health promotion in district settings in Punjab and Haryana, and they did lot of work in the Punjab and Haryana. And in fact, our program is being implemented, which is known as National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer, CVD, Diabetes and Stroke. It is operational all over India. In fact, we are having pilot project in 6 districts with the AYUSH. So we are involving the AYUSH and various pathies, and so they have a definite role for the prevention and health promotion, besides their own research and own treatment modalities. So thank you, Professor Thakur.
So there is another prestigious lecture from Professor Vaidya K.S. Dhiman, Director General of Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences. The topic is research experience of yoga and Ayurveda integration in NPCTCS program. As for Professor Dhiman, needs no introduction. He is the Director General of Central Council and he was formerly the Director of IPGTRA Jamnagar. He is an expert professor of Shalakya and he is pivotal of NPCTCS program at CCRS, in which we have launched this program to 3 states, that is Bhilwara at Rajasthan, Surendranagar at Gujarat and Gaya at Bihar. I think he will very well give introduction about that program. Thank you, sir.
Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshu Namiltam Yen Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Good evening to everyone, respected chairperson and all dignitaries on the dais, Yoga and Ayurveda, these 2 separate entities are seen today, but in the very beginning talk, I'll tell these 2 nowadays systems, so-called systems, are not at all different. They are the integral part of each of its own component. Yoga yogastu sukh dukkhanam karanam. This is the version of Acharya Charak. This is not that yoga which is a cause of sorrow. Yoga here means balance and ayog means imbalance. And what is that balance and imbalance? That is reflected by the definition of life in the Ayurveda system of medicine. The life is defined Sharirendriya Sattvatma Sanyogo Dhari Jivitam. Nityagascha Anuvandhascha, these are its synonyms. The life is a symbiosis of body, senses, mind and soul. And one of the synonym given to this life is Anuvandha, what we term in English contract. The time space of this contract is known as lifespan. The balance of these 4 is yoga, and that is health, wellness and happiness, whereas the imbalance in any of these 4 factors is sorrow in all ways. In Kathopanishad, the balance of these 4 things has been depicted in such a beautiful manner. The body, the total chariot, and the charioteer, the Atma, being driven by a Sarathi, which is a mind, and he controls, through this mind controls the senses, which are the horses. And if this control is not there with the mind, then this body cannot run. So this is the balance which has to be there for happiness. This life can be, in today's IT era, can be defined, the body as a hardware, the senses are the sensors, the mind as the coordination or the different circuits, and the soul as the server. And each of these 4 components has its own temperament and they have their own way of working. The hardware survives on ahar and vyayam. This is food and exercise, which is again the asanas, etc. from the yoga side. And the senses and the coordinator, the circuits survive on the yogic practices, which can be yoga, which can be a physical at the level of the asana and pranayam, whereas at the mental level it has to be there in the yam, niyam, pratyahar, dhyan, dharana, samadhi, etc., which was reflected by Ayurveda in the way of sadvrit and achara sign. The sadvrit is nothing but the moral or ethical code of conduct which is seen by yoga system in a different, very elaborate and systematic manner, whereas the server, the Atma, the soul, has to be in the phase of spirituality. If all these coordinations, if whole this system works together, then this life sustains. Again, the major cause as per Ayurveda, the cause of disease is the uncontrolled desire or the lust. If this lust is not controlled, you cannot come out of the sorrow of this disease and all affirmities. And that lust can only be controlled by the practice of, real practice of yoga, not only by asana, etc., but real total practice of yoga as Dr. Gangadhar depicted. So, in other words, how the system of yoga and Ayurveda was interlinked and interrelated, this was no way separable by each other. Again, the causative factors, if we see of the diseases and the relief to get out of those diseases, tesham sanshodhanam ahar achara cha samyak prayukta nigraha hetavaha. The avoidance of the causative factors, and many of the physical causative factors can be avoided and can be told to the patients, but how to avoid the asatmendriya sanyog, pragya aprad and upadha. How these improper imbalance and contact of the senses and knowingly doing wrongful. This junk food is not good, but even then everyone is eating. And how to come out of the lust, this can never happen without the practice of yoga. So Ayurveda and yoga, if goes hand to hand, then we can think about the Jivan Kalyan or wellness and health. Lifestyle advocacy, a lot of literature. I think half of the literature of Ayurveda is upon the lifestyle advocacy and preventive aspects of the diseases. As Dr. Thakur was just telling about the intervention, and Dr. Gupta told about the National Program for Control of Non-Communicable Diseases, which the program is going on along with AYUSH systems. Out of 6 districts, 3 districts has been given to Ayurveda department of AYUSH ministry, wherein my council being the nodal agency for implementing this program, as the Dr. Bharti told, in Gaya, Bihar, in Surendranagar, at Surendranagar in Gujarat, as well as in Bhilwara in Rajasthan. And I shall now be sharing the experiences, the research experiences out of the integration of Ayurveda, Yoga along with the modern health system in controlling the non-communicable diseases. So the objective was to ensure early diagnosis of non-communicable diseases for management through lifestyle and behavioral changes through the principles of Ayurveda, to reduce drug dependency, to provide an adjuvant therapy to reduce complication and associated symptoms, to carry out capacity building of human resources, and to ensure the evaluation, monitoring and surveillance of the NCD through this project. The program was already going on with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. DGHS himself invited Ministry of AYUSH to come and collaborate with this. This study is just an feasibility study to show the potential of AYUSH systems, how much they can contribute in the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases. The implementation strategy, the silent killers diseases has been taken as a non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, dyslipidemia, hemiplegia as a outcome of this hypertension and other, and as well as cancer. These are the diseases which has been addressed in this program. The rationale was only to see the prevalence as well as to diagnose these silent killers at the earliest without the patient has some complication, before the patient has some complication. The study design was, this is an open level comparative efficacy study, and 2 main cohorts are there. Cohort 1 is preclinical stage and cohort 2 is clinical established non-communicable diseases, and they has further been subdivided into 4 groups which I will be, this is for example for hypertension, if we for diabetes, then the pre-diabetic stage is again divided into two, group A1, wherein lifestyle modification and yoga practice was given, in group 2 where Ayurvedic medicine and lifestyle and yoga practice was given. In already established diabetic patients, again that was group B, lifestyle modification, yoga practice and conventional treatment, whatever patient was already taking, that was there. And in group B2, Ayurvedic medicine along with conventional medicine, lifestyle and yoga practice along with. For this, what lifestyle modification is required and what is the yoga practice has to be given, that this ICD was prepared with the consultation of the experts of each system of medicine, and then that was given, practiced by all the patients. Again for the hypertension, same line of treatment. For dyslipidemia, again the parameters for diagnosing inclusion and exclusion, whatever WHO parameters are there, whatever was suggested by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, it was adopted, and again same patients were randomized accordingly. Lifestyle intervention, this all ICD material was prepared, and due training to all the doctors were given who were appointed in this program, and quarterly monitoring of this system, this program is going on, and so far the very minimum Ayurvedic medicine was given, and enrollment period for 6 months, and each enrolled patient is treated for a period of 6 months. This treatment period may be extended for long observation and follow-up based on the need of the patient. Required investigations such as fasting blood sugar, postprandial blood sugar, HbA1c, liver function test, kidney function test, and lipid profile of each patient are being conducted at baseline, 3rd month and 6th month intervals. So the end points were to evaluate the change in blood sugar level, to evaluate the changes in the systolic and diastolic blood pressure at quarterly, 6 monthly intervals, and the secondary outcome endpoints were to evaluate the changes in quality of life, to reduction in the dose of standard care, whatever medicine patient was taken, whether there is a reduction in the dose of that medicine, has it been stopped or not, and comparison of the side effects. In addition to aiding in reducing the non-communicable disease burden, also aims to establish the effectiveness of Ayurvedic management along with the therapeutic lifestyle and yoga in preclinical, pre-hypertensive and borderline high-risk lipid level patients. So methodology, I have already told, this IC material was there, and this is the profile in these 3 districts through 49 community health centers and 3 district headquarters. We screened more than 1,13,000 patients, and out of those 43,000 patients has been enrolled for these different conditions. The results, this is a 2 years project to be completed in the March 2018, and data will be analyzed completely after the completion of the study. Whatever the leads we have got so far with the analysis, that I am going to share with you. Change in blood sugar level, blood pressure and lipid level at 3rd, 6th month have been assessed, and promising results have been observed. The comparison between the newly diagnosed and already established patients will has given a efficacy of Ayurvedic medicine and yoga and pre-disease condition. The comparison between already established and already on medicine patients has given the inference that the efficacy of Ayurvedic medicine and yoga in the disease condition is encouraging. As the program is ongoing, a quarterly monitoring has been conducted to assess the progress. During the quarterly monitoring, the assessment of the data documented till now showed encouraging results after the implementation of the integration of AYUSH component. An interim analysis has revealed that the doses or the component of conventional medicine prescription were either reduced or discontinued in consultation and supervision of the allopathic doctors. After integrating the intervention of Ayurveda, lifestyle and yoga in patients of diabetes, hypertension, Ayurveda and allopathy integrative healthcare services seem to be successful attempt of functional integration through delivering in the context of non-communicable diseases with encouraging benefits of standalone Ayurveda therapies as well as benefits as add-on therapies. So in conclusion, modification in lifestyle and yoga plays a vital role in prevention and prognosis of the non-communicable diseases. Present integration of AYUSH with NP-CDS program at grassroots level will be a useful tool for future action plan and to take appropriate policy decision for integration to control the disease burden. Strengthening of AYUSH health care network by utilizing the services of AYUSH doctors can be adopted for the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases through primary health care network. So friends, the samdosh, samagni, samdhatu, malkriya, prasannatmindriya mana swastha ityavdhiyate, this wellness cannot be adopted without the integration of AYUSH and yoga and Ayurveda and other AYUSH systems in the mainstream healthcare system. Thank you very much.
It was very nice presentation, and there are several things in model. It is coming out as success. The main thing is that the AYUSH doctors, they are almost equal to allopathic doctors in the country. So if they do what the other doctors are doing, so in the public healthcare system, so they must do jointly health promotion, prevention, early detection, even treatment. And in the treatment, patient is often confused whether to take Ayurvedic medicine or allopathic, and most of the time they sometimes take both, sometimes one or two. So I think research is required whether if both the medicines are being given, which combination will be good or bad. I think it's an actual real problem at the patient's end. Whatever medicines are there, because allopathic, they have their own set of protocols like metformin and all that. In the Ayurveda, I'm not sure what treatment are there, but in the like methi, karela, these are vegetables which are having hypoglycemic activity, and similarly for blood pressure. So I think there is lot of efforts required to do jointly, and this project is successful. And I am sure the manpower and the efforts and the expenditure jointly they can do synergistic activity, and it will be beneficial for the country.
So actually I want to tell that AYUSH by itself, when we have decided, that is a joint activity. But the point is, again I would emphasize that yoga has to be practiced by every individual, every human being, which is a combination of psychology, philosophy and these technology. Now when Ayurveda is talking about lust as the cause of disease, or pragya aparadha, that is exactly what yoga talks very strongly about mental disease. So you can't separate it. It has to be combined effort, and we should carry on. And one thing more, that every human is different. So everybody, with everyone, allopathy may not suit, in somebody Ayurveda may not suit. So everything should go on, but patient should be helped. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for very exhaustive lecture, sir. Next lecture is from Professor Usha Kiran. She is Professor and Head Department of Cardiac Anesthesia, AIMS, and she will talk on Raj Yoga for stress management. Dr. Usha Kiran is practicing cardiac anesthesia and intensive care for over 30 years, and she is running stress management programs in Cardiac Neuro Center, AIMS. She is providing pain therapy with Raj Yoga meditation techniques, and she has conducted many researches with DST, ICMR, has 3 educational books, 180 scientific papers, 15 national awards, and so on. So may I request her to deliver her lecture.
Thank you, ma'am. A respected chairperson and my dear friends. Of course, dignitaries on the dais, we have heard. I'm a very small thing in front of them. But one thing I was listening, madam was all the time saying holistic approach, holistic approach. So that's rightly pointed out, everything to be integrated, jointly done. I'm really impressed, whatever has been done over here. I have just today come from Mount Abu, and Raj Yoga basically is the teachings of Mount Abu, Brahma Kumaris, and they have their education and research center. I was just there for 2 days. That's why I greet you with the word Om Shanti. Om Shanti means I am a peaceful soul. Just for a second realize I am a peaceful soul. So I'm talking about Raj Yoga for stress management. I think sitting over here for 2 hours listening to everybody must have caused little stress or tiredness or sick thing, no doubt about it. So that's why first stress management is just see on your right, see on the person sitting on the right and give a smile. And now see on the left and give a smile. And that is the remedy for stress. And that is the result of Raj Yoga. If really we practice yoga, then we will always smile. And that is the answer to all the questions. Just smile. And this is very important step in any of the yogas. This is what I learned from Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga. So a lot has been said on stress. So basically we talk about stress, which is external stress, whether physical or some social or some economic. Basically, I think we all sitting over here, we are managing stress, that's why we are here. So it is not the stress from outside, it is what is the response to stress. And that is begin with Hans Sale, and that was the stress response. And everybody has told about amygdala, hypothalamus, how the autonomic nervous system works and how the endocrine works. And I'm not highlighting more on this. And stress-related diseases, whether it's the cause or it is the effect. Any disease will result into stress. And many of the diseases, they have stress as a cause. So stress needs to be managed, and I told you a beautiful remedy. Smile, smile, and smile. That is the first answer, and that's the first yoga. Why? Because there are more than 100 muscles on the face. And once we smile, this more than 100 muscles, they relax. And that's the answer to solve many problems in life. Okay. So, one thing I'm very much afraid of, and that is when I talk to the people, and most of the people say that we don't have job, then there's a stress, agreed. We don't have money, then there's a stress, agreed. We don't have children, there's a stress, agreed. But people who are in jobs and they have job stress, how shameful it is. They have job, beautiful jobs, executives, doctors, engineers, they have stress. Very shameful. We talk to a number of companies, see the parameters of stress. Can you read all these things? If we are in a job, beautiful job, we are getting salary, and then there's 10 questions within them, just 10 questions, simple 10 questions. And if it is positive in 3, that means it's stress. Do I feel unhappy at many times at workplace? Isn't the work too boring? Do I feel tired at the end of the day? I've earned money, I should not be tired. Am I sick of my job? 5th point, is it too much going to my office all the 6 days in continuity? 6th point, do I create stories or excuses for my absenting from the workplace? 7th, same work every day, depressing. 8th, do I get stressed out of my boss? Do I get stressed out with my boss? Most common answer, yes. 9th question, does reaching on time is difficult? And 10th question, do I feel stress completing my targets? And when we go to the executives, earning in 5 figures, but still they have 50% of these answers, yes. So that means we need to do something, as it has been stressed, integrated with yoga, with meditation, with smile, with happiness from inside, not from outside. The stress is not from outside. It's basically something lacking inside. Madam has rightly pointed out, and doctors have pointed out, the lust, the greed, these are the ones which are making us vacuum inside. And for that, we need to be aware of what is happening to me. Next. So basically, stress is not outside, it is in our thoughts, how we think. And this is the result of thinking, which has been highly pointed out. We get either irritable behavior, angry, or having fear in our mind, having jealousy in our mind, having irritability, or kind of suspicious, family problems, and this is what the result is. Our body, our mind, our emotions, our behavior, the result is it's full of stress. And young people, smart people, educated people in good jobs see their condition. They are not able to manage their time, they are not able to sleep properly, they are worrying all the time, they are tired, they are sick, they have job problems, they have anxiety. And ultimately, what is happening? A new disease, not a new one. A lot of studies have been done, and that is called burnout syndrome. If I talk, you'll have further stress because time is very short and I should be limited. But yes, there's a difference between stress and burnout syndrome. There's a difference. Stress means there is that you know that you have multiple engagement, you are overactive in emotion, you have urgency, you have loss of energy, you can have anxiety disorder, but burnout, that is very difficult to treat. And this is happening nowadays. Not only older people, younger people are suffering with burnout. Medical professionals are suffering with burnout. Nurses, doctors are suffering with burnout. And that is disengagement. They don't want to do anything. It's overstress. Overstress is resulting into it. These emotions are blunted. Helplessness, hopelessness, no motivation, detachment, depression, and as if they are living life worth nothing. So this is the stage happening. And let's prevent it. We have got a beautiful thing in our hand, that is yoga, meditation, which has been, everybody has been focusing on yoga, meditation, and that needs to be incorporated in our day-to-day life. So there are physical signs, I think we all know, emotions, I'm just removing this. So people talk about stress, stress management, you have a lot of things in our net, you have a lot of, you're paying for stress management, you want to learn stress management, and somebody says A, awareness, ABC, B, balance, C, control. Very easy to say and very difficult to bring in our life. What about awareness? What awareness? Who am I? What is my job? See, these awareness are there, but how to manage self? Basically, a very important thing is we have to keep balance. Family balance, health balance, friends balance, life balance, career balance. But how to do? It's very easy to guide others, but how to do in our life, the most difficult. But we have seen in police people also, they want to control others, but they become out of control. They have given a lot of lectures for the police people, their family life, their personal life, their studies, there's a lot of divorces, family problems occurring. This is all because we are not able to take control of ourselves. So we need to have meditation, yoga in our life, a balanced life, and we should have stress outlets. Whether family support system, social support system, spiritual support system, and positive work environment, and healthy food. Don't think somebody will give me. I have to create it. Nobody will give me in hand. We have to create everything. And for that, I think we can know ourselves, what level we stand. We are joyful all the time. We are satisfied. So let's talk about self. How many of us know about who are we? Nobody teaches us spirituality. There was a time when the house itself was teaching us, our parents, our grandparents, and now nobody teaches us who am I? Who am I? Body made up of 5 elements and soul made up of 7 qualities, 7 energies. That is what is the first lesson of Raj Yoga. I am a peaceful being. Just think about that and realize the peace in yourself. Second lesson, I am the happy being. Third quality, I am the loveful being. I am the pure being. I am the blissful, Anandam. I am a powerful being and I am a knowledgeful being. So awareness of all these things will make me realize who am I. Once I have my self-identity, I am peaceful, then how can I be furious? That means I am not aware of the real fact that who am I. Or I don't do self-analysis, or I have not recognized myself. So that's why if I want to have success in any field, whether family, relation, job, anything, having a beautiful life, I need to do self-realization, maintain my self-esteem, not ego. Ego will bring me anger, but self-esteem, who am I? I am a peaceful being, I am a powerful being, I can take right decisions, I can discern what to be done at this stage. So this is what the power is. Power is not to fight with anybody. So I have to need self-empowerment. So this Raj Yoga meditation studies, I have done a number of studies. You can see those studies on the net also. In the practical form, we become beautifully organized, develop divine virtues, and the spiritual things come in the life, in the practical form. It's not that we are running from the responsibility, but we are into it. We are very busy, but we are very easy at that time. Mind is very easy. We are cool. People say the boss cannot be cool. Yes, boss needs to be cool. I came from Mount Abu in the morning. All the people over there are cool, but doing a lot of administration. That's why I invite you to come to Mount Abu. 26th January, they have a conference. So you are all invited for there to see the practical thing. Very constructive, very cool. These are the examples of our children. We are doing this simple practice of Raj Yoga in our children. Adults also, headache patients also, Parkinson's disease also. I being in cardiac neuro center, I happen to meet cardiac and neuro patients. These children, look at the smile on their face. Just 3 lessons of Raj Yoga given to them in the hospital premises. See, the child absolutely dull in ICU, complaining of pain after the heart surgery, and immediately after just teaching him, who am I? I'm very loveful, I'm very peaceful. The first lesson goes, and I belong to the one who is ocean of peace. He's my father. This is how connect soul to the supreme soul, and that is called Raj Yoga, ruler of our own. This is how the child also starts smiling in the ICU. So you can imagine how it improves the healing. So Raj Yoga means just the soul, that is the energy, that is the live wire, like we have a live wire connected to the live wire. And that is means, so we get electric power. Same way, the life in the body is the soul. And supreme power is the means. And the mind is the cable in between. So through the media of the mind, we get connected to the supreme power. And this is how we start getting peace, love, happiness in our life. So it's very easy. This is a meditation room in AIMS Cardiac Neuro Center where we are doing this. This was the first study done on headache patients, simple chronic headache patients. Me and the neurologist sitting together. Madam really said jointly done. So we were together and then we were teaching meditation and assessing them. So it's the neurology person and me together. Same way we see in ourselves also. The person who starts practicing meditation and he starts giving this yoga meditation practicing and helping others, and they have better clarity of mind, they have better decision making, they develop art of teamwork, leadership, they can manage their time properly, they have cool temperament, it's very positive attitude with the self-esteem, no ego, balanced personality, and for that we need to have connection with God. Not difficult. If you want, I can make you practice. Here also, just 1 minute and you will be there. Okay, I can tell you how. So can you all see me? I think I'll make it little. Okay, then I'll not move anything, but I would like to say, sit comfortably. Just sit comfortably. As we command our body, the same way command yourself, the soul, the thinking process, the intelligent process inside, the same way command that also. This is called balance and control. Just a practice of command. Look, a command to your feet. Relax. Relax. To your leg muscles. Relax. Relax. To your knee joint, please relax. Thigh muscles, relax. Hip muscles, relax. The back, all the muscles, please relax. So see your legs are relaxed, totally relaxed. You can keep your eyes open or close, it doesn't matter. Just keep giving command to your body. Relax. Abdominal muscles, relax. Back muscles, relax. Take a deep breath. Release slowly. Again deep breath. Release slowly. Neck muscles, relax. Shoulder, relax. Both the arms, relax. Smile on the face. Face muscles, head muscles, relax. Totally bodies relax. So, tell your mind, relax mind, you are very peaceful. You are very peaceful. Think positive that I am a peaceful soul. I forgot about it. Now I realize, but when I analyzed, my peace is hardly there. On small things, I become peaceful, peaceless. Small thing happens, I become peaceless. So let me go and fill up the vacuum of peace from the one who is ocean of peace. Let's come up with the body, go high up, above the sky, through the medium of my mind, reach above the sky, and you see an orange, reddish, golden light. And this light is coming from the Supreme Power. He is just a Supreme Soul, nobody. He doesn't have a corporeal being. And from there, we are feeling as if we are in the fountain of peace. The peaceful vibrations are coming on me as a fountain. I'm feeling so comfortable. I feel so filled up with peace, absorbing all the vibrations of peace. Now, full of peace, I come back to my body. Inside the body, in my forehead, and I start giving peaceful vibrations to my whole body. Body is relaxed, body is peaceful, totally relaxed and peaceful. Vibrations of peace around me, all over me, in the whole world. Very peaceful, very relaxed. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. You can open your eyes and feel how peaceful you are and how relaxed you are. Are you able to? If you can do for 1 minute, you can do in all situations. It's just a matter of practice, that's all. And if we say we cannot even practice for a minute in a day, that means we are not caring for ourselves. So, I think I would like to end here only. I've got a lot of studies you can see on the net also, few I mentioned over here. I would like to thank the organizer, everybody for this patient hearing and even improving my knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, so Professor Usha Kiran, she just reflected. Peace began with smile, And I think so that lesson we have to take, that keep relaxed, smiling. And the whole point is that this message that there is no tension in the outside world. And I always say, as a joke, the tension comes when you want horse to behave like donkey or donkey to behave like horse. Then the tension comes. But if you accept both as they are, horse as a horse and donkey as a donkey, then there is no tension. Every human being is a sample by itself. All of us are one namunas. God has not made any other namuna like us. So we have to accept everyone as they are. Then where is the tension? Then you just enjoy all the varieties and enjoy life. Then smile will remain. So that was a beautiful session. Now,
It was a very good session and
on.
it is not working. So we were quite relaxed and now we know how to become relaxed. And to be cool and because situation is not always comfortable in the environment, there will be stress factors. There will be problems, you have to solve every day. That is a human life. But you can tackle them as far as possible with your capability, but remain cool. And you should not become the problem for others. While others can be problem for you, but don't become problem for others. So, especially the last session, it was very, very good. And I am sure we should include in our day-to-day activities as an individual, at the community level and at the country level. So we need to further have studies also, and we should see how to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I request Chairperson, Chair Ma'am Srimati Hansaji Jaydev to kindly honor Dr. Sudhir Gupta by presenting a memento. I request her to again give memento to Dr. B.N. Gangadhar, Director, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. I request Dr. Sudhir Gupta to kindly give memento to Professor Dr. J.S. Thakur, Professor, School of Public Health, PGMIR, Chandigarh. Professor Valedictory Diman, Director General of CCRS, has given his valuable speech on NPCDCS integration of Ayurveda. Kindly honor him with a memento. I again request Madam Hansaji Jaydev to kindly honor Madam Usha Kiran, Professor Dr. Usha Kiran from Cardiac Anesthesia, AIIMS, New Delhi. Thanks all for the kind cooperation. After the session, there is tea downstairs. A cultural program is there in the same hall. If anybody wants to join, they can join in the culture program. Next, small announcement for tomorrow. Tomorrow's session will start at 9:30. We have to commence earlier because our valedictory session is preponed. In place of being after lunch, it will be before lunch. So valedictory will be there at 11:15. So we have to finish with the first session from 9:30 to 11. The first session will go. After that, there will be valedictory function. After the lunch, there will be then again technical session and panel discussion. So we meet tomorrow again. Thanks a lot.